What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for you. I want to thank my sponsor, Steel Supplements. I'm going to put a link down in the description for the strongest fat burner they have. I believe one of the best fat burners on the market over the counter. All you have to do is pay shipping, and you can try it for free. Been a crazy 24 hours for Madden in EA Sports. Mike Mitchell came out and said Madden 21 is broken. Not even excited about college football. The game hasn't been good since they paid for the league licensing. It's a broken game. All they do is steal money for microtransactions. It's not a football simulation. Those are some really strong words from a former player. He goes on to say, listen, attention to detail. He played in the league for 10 years. He didn't get his age right. We're seeing a lot of former players come out and speak about this. Had him on my channel before. Josh Harris comes out and responds to this tweet where he says, it's mind-boggling that an 89 loses to a 78 in two-thirds of simulations. It's almost like the ratings don't matter. Again, as a community, how long have we said scripted gameplay, ratings don't matter? Josh Harris takes it to that next level and say, listen, set aside the simulation. You've got no player logic. You've got no situational awareness, red zone, goal line, physics. It's just animations. It's just coding. Even though EA has been so far against what these two players are talking about. It's amazing to me that we're finally seeing so many of the concerns of the community being upheld by current and former NFL players. And not only that, it's a pushback against what's happening at EA Sports. Pork Chop, Terrance Knighton comes and says, developers matter. Bring Rex Dixon back. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Rex is the answer, but I do find it fitting that a couple days ago, Clint Oldenburg used Rex as a rationale to a reason why the game was broken, but you have to take into account just simply what's being said. Developers matter. Bring back a developer. Bring in a new developer. This is, again, another former NFL player. For the longest time, it's been one thing as a community for us to voice our displeasure with the game. It's another when you have former players doing it. For the longest time, Johnny Rutledge was the only player that would come out and talk realistically about Madden. Then Uche Nwaneri came along. Now, the floodgates are seemingly open. And not only that, it's also very telling to me that when people push back, Louis Murphy Jr. comes out and says, stop trying and get better. Now, before, this tweet would have people latch to it. The Madden defenders would say, yeah, that's right, get good at the game, get good. You just must be bad at this game if you don't like it. But instead, you can see Mike comes out and says, I'm not even playing the game. It's just simulation. But people are so predisposed to defend this game and love this game and appreciate this game that they don't even understand what's being said before they come out and say, no, everything's fine with my Madden. My Madden is good. It's you that has a problem. And the reality is those people, the It's Good Madden people, are getting fewer and fewer and fewer. Because as you can see here, he goes on to say, Clint, how can I help you? This tweet that he put out was directed towards Clint. Clint actually responded to it. But Clint doesn't seem to want to take criticisms. Understand that this was a tweet that just went out in the middle of the night of how much someone disliked Madden. And it turns into, hours later, him talking to a developer, how can I help you? That should show Clint that there's a real issue. That should prove to him that the way he's handled this game, the way he's handled this community, which I'm sure so many of you see this now, hasn't worked, isn't working, will not work. Because what's going to happen is Clint's obsession with people that provide favor reviews to Madden is going to get to the point that when anyone comes out negatively, he is either going to close the door or he's going to have a hard time finding it because he's blocked so many people that would bring it to him. The problem now becomes that the same reasons that Clint blocked people like myself and other people in our community are now being validated by NFL players, and yet Clint's stance never changes as to we are wrong and he is right. In fact, all Clint has done is double down. 2 is better than 1. Try again. Rex. Young bucks that don't understand. This is a guy that told us just a number of months ago that we should be more appreciative and thankful for where the game is, because when he was growing up, he didn't have any game like this available to him. Seemingly ignorant to the fact that other sports titles revolutionize gaming. EA can literally look at Madden and say it's only revolutionized one thing. Perhaps two. The first being misleading its customer. The second being Madden Ultimate Team. It's pioneered the process of selling the same cards each year and making little to no improvements. There's not a lot of games that survive this way. But that's where this game is. That's where this game has been. The outside world is just now catching up to where we as a community have been for the last 6, 7, 8 years. And it's created just a flood of attention. I mentioned it in the other video. Madden has been trending 3 times this year for how bad of a game it is. Think about that. Not for player ratings being adjusted, not for a simulation that it did for a championship game, not for a draft simulation, for simply how bad the game is. You know, there's a lot of bad games, don't get me wrong. But I don't know any that have been met with such the fanfare of Madden. You've got NFL players coming out and saying, get the people that are making this game out and bring other people in. You've got other former players coming out and talking about how poor the game is, and other players come and respond to them and tell them specifically what's broken. While all this happens, EA continues to try to drive this false narrative that they have a simulation football game, that John Madden says should be hiring the competitive gamers to be on coaching staffs. I have weeks worth of some of the most insane football you'll ever see. Football that doesn't represent the National Football League. Football that doesn't represent the rule set that's implored. Football that doesn't represent physics. EA has allowed this to happen. Clint Oldenburg is a main piece in this puzzle. He has seen this game go through a regression. They have watched as they've made promises to our community to fix their game that have never been done. We still don't have the completed franchise mode we were promised when the original uproar Fix Madden franchise started months ago. Yet they continue to come out and push Madden challenges, Madden tournaments. If you want to make a bad game, make a bad game. Make the worst game you can. But don't sell us the worst game. Don't tell us you've improved it and it still be the worst game. So now, I really want to know, specifically from Clint, I want to know what happens now. When we gave you a 0.2 user score, you laughed it off. You took your NFL pedigree and you held it above our heads and assumed that because you played a couple snaps at the professional level, your opinion meant more than ours. And you're entitled to feel that way. You're entitled to believe that way. But now, understand, Clint, when you have players whose careers multiplied yours, we get to hold you to that same standard. Mike Mitchell played more seasons than you played snaps, Clint. What are you going to hold over his head? Nothing. Nothing. You have to take these men's word and now act on them. The same way you thought you were putting us in our place, you're now being put in your place just about every single day. And I, for one, absolutely thrive on it. I love to see it. Vicariously, I live a little bit through these players that put you in your place. Because that's what you thought you were doing to us. So now you know how it feels. Right? Except you've got a pressure to actually perform. I don't. I'll make content whether your game is great or awful. But now you have to answer to all this. And that's the best part of this. You have to answer for this awful football game that you've signed off on for years. Which, by the way, I've got some of the worst clips you'll ever see coming up, Clint, if you want some reference material for how to fix your game. Love to know your guys' thoughts on this. Appreciate you checking out, and you know I will be back in the week with more commentary.